Okay, I'll start now. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this would be our last lecture before your second exam. Okay, the exam will be held on Thursdays, same schedule with the first exam. Okay, so it's not gonna be at the uh, regular time. So it will be at 7 to 9 a.m. so that it can be held at the same time with the other classes. In terms of the rules and technical stuff, I think it will be the same with the first exam. So it's gonna be open book starting from the pressure drop or the friction for the straight line pipeline, and then continue with the pump, and then continue with the compressor, and then this will be the last chapter regarding the gas liquid flow. Okay. So I'll use this one last hour to explain about the pressure drop calculation for a gas liquid to phase flow. So this I'll refresh probably the variables that have been explained in the last sessions. In essence, it's important for us to separate the properties of the pure gas and the pure liquid, even though it's mixed together in a gas liquid to phase flow. Why? Because the behavior could be different between this gas and liquid phase. So it has to be treated initially as a separate phase. Okay. So of course we need to know about the density of the gas, the density of the liquid, and then the area occupied by the gas and then area occupied by the liquid. Which can be derived from the correlation between the either by the uh, fraction. Okay, over here it expressed as omega, which is a vapor in mass fraction. Okay, this is the mass flow inside of a channel. So only the gas phase mass flow rate divided by the mass of the gas plus liquid, which means this is the overall mass flow rate. So after we know this correlation, that we know the area occupied only for the gas and area occupied by the liquid. Okay, so and when we need to know about the flux, then it can be calculated simply by the calculation of the mass flow rate in each of the phase. Okay, so if we need to know the gas mass flux, then it will be the mass flux of the gas divided by the area. And again, another important thing is to know about the superficial velocity. I already explained about this in the previous session. The important assumption in superficial velocity means that it is calculated assuming that the void fraction is 1. Okay, so assuming even though, let's say initially we know that the pipeline is filled by a mixture of gas and liquid. So gas, for example, is filling the upper part of the pipeline while the liquid fills the lower part of the pipeline. But when we calculate the superficial velocity, that means we assume that all of those pipeline segment will be used to flow the gas part. And same thing when we calculate the superficial velocity for the liquid, we assume that all the area are used to flow the liquid. Okay, so based on this understanding, now it's common to express the flow regimes map in this kind of regime map. Okay, so for example, this is for a vertical flow. That's why what you found probably over here is only for 5 maps instead of 7, starting from the annular. Sorry, usually we start from the bubble up until the annular. Okay, and the transition would be either a wispy annular or a churn or a slug. So once you calculate the superficial velocity divided multiplied by the density, that will give you this unit. Okay, so if it's a very small velocity for liquid but a high velocity for gas, that will be in somewhere in the annular region. And if we are in the very high liquid velocity but very low gas, that means we are in the bubble. But if we are in the moderate liquid velocity and at low gas velocity, we are in the slug region, which is uh, usually try to be avoided because of the explain of the slugging that explained in the previous session. Okay. And same thing for a horizontal flow. Previously, it was for a vertical flow. So for a horizontal flow, the concept is still the same. That means when we have a small gas velocity but a very high liquid velocity, we are likely to be in the bubble regimes. And when we're working at the high gas velocity but at very low liquid velocity, we are likely to be in the annular regimes. And the transition, either that will be in the intermittent, can be as a bubble, can be as a slug, or can be as a churn, in general would be found when one of the phase is not dominating the other phase. Okay, so again the lines over here, either the purple lines, the green line, or the red line, could be shifted depending on the pressure, depending on the geometry of the pipeline, but the concept regarding the position of this regimes map holds true. Okay. Okay, same thing here. It's just a derivation from different sources, but the concept is once we know the ratio of the liquid and the gas, then we can determine where are we working in this kind of pipeline. Okay. Okay, any questions about the regimes map before I continue to the last part about the pressure drop? Okay, let me continue then. So the gas liquid mixture is not only found in a straight pipeline, but it's also sometimes found in a other unit of equipment. For example, this kind of reactor. Okay, so over here we have a gas bubble liquid, which is a bubble column. For example, this is found in a bioreactor. Okay, so for other chemical reactors such as a slurry bubble columns reactor for methanol synthesis, it also involves two liquids, two phases. Okay, so let me change the pointer. Usually you have a syngas feed, for example, in this one. So because the gas is light, so uh, it can go upwards because of the lighter density. Okay, so the syngas will goes upward, spread throughout the column. Okay, so that's the syngas. And then in the reactor parts, you can see that over here syngas is a mixture of hydrogen and carbon monoxide, and because of the presence of the catalyst, it will accelerate the reaction, and then it will forms a methanol. Okay, it will form some methanol. So if the methanol is still in the high temperature, then the methanol can be found in a relatively high temperature, and that means still in the vapor phase. So that the product of the reactor will be will exit the reactor still in the vapor phase. Okay, but this is a very exothermic. This is a very exothermic reaction. Okay, exothermic reaction means that it will release a huge amount of energy from the reaction because of the exothermic reaction. So if it's performed adiabatically, that means if the heat is not transferred, usually there will be increase of temperature inside of the reactor. And in some case, the increase of temperature is tried to be limited, let's say to adjust or to control the equilibrium of the reactor. Because you know that for exothermic reaction, actually the equilibrium will be shifted towards the feed parts when the temperature increase. So the conversion will decrease and so on. So it's very common for some of the reactor to try this kind of heat exchange. As you can see over here, it's similar to what is found in a shell and tube heat exchanger. Okay, so you have a liquid as a boiler feed water, and then you can see over here that we have a tubular which is used to flow the water. Okay, hold on. Okay, so check this region. Okay, you have a lot of tubulars, so that the boiler feed water or water H2O, okay, indirectly can contact with the reactor to obtain the exothermic heat. Okay, so boiler feed water, that means it's a water, and then it flows inside of the tubular of the reactor, and at the time that the exothermic heat can be transferred into the inside parts of the tube. Okay, so the water in the liquid here can uh, the temperature will increase. Okay, the temperature of the water will increase because of the exothermic heat coming from the outside part of the tube. And because of the high temperature, of course, the water will gradually vaporize, okay, becomes a steam. So this is like energy utilization from exothermic reaction. Okay, so we still have water as a vapor, but the different now it's already in a vapor. Okay, when it exits the reaction, when it exits the reactor. Okay, so the phenomena over here, of course, it's quite similar to what is found in two-phase pipeline. Okay, because initially the boiler feed water comes in as a pure liquid, but because of the gradual temperature increase, then some of the fraction starts to vaporize. And actually, when it exits the reactor, it could all of them already found in a vapor phase, okay, which is expressed over here as a steam. And in this kind, in the middle of the region, you can imagine that that's where the of evaporation occurs, and you can found two phases, either as a liquid and as a vapor in the middle part of the reactor. So of course the behaviors, the pressure drop correlations has to be considered. Similarly, with what that is applied in to mixed phase of liquid and vapor. Okay. Okay. Any questions about this concept of bubble reactor? Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, so now I will introduce what is called as a slip velocity. Okay, again, this is just variables that's used to calculate the pressure drop in the mixed phase flow. Okay, so you have to be careful with the directions of the bubble and the liquid. Okay, so previously, if we are talking about a gas and liquid pipeline, we have a gas flowing in this example, let's say to the right direction. Okay, so if it flows at the same direction, okay, so the velocity variable is treated as positive. Okay, but sometimes we will have another system where the gas and liquid flows to a different direction. So again, the example here probably is found in an absorber, where we have a gas coming upwards from the bottom of the absorber, and then we have a liquid coming downward from the top of the absorber. So when the gas and liquid flows at the opposite direction, so then when we calculate the slip velocity, the notation will be negative. This to represents the different directions that the gas and the liquid that fills within this absorber. Okay, so that's the concept of slip velocity. When it flows together in the same direction, it will be stated as positive. Okay. Okay, so now this is the last part again about the energy loss or the pressure drop. Okay, so here the first thing that you have to be aware is the pressure drop for a mixed gas and liquid flow will be much bigger than the pressure drop than for a single liquid flow or a single vapor flow. Okay, why? Hopefully you can imagine the illustration from the video last week about the turbulency, the dynamics of the gas and liquid, where it behaves not in a steady state way. Okay, and on those turbulence cause a bigger pressure drop, a bigger friction in the pipeline. Okay, and the simplest correlation, okay, the simplest correlation that can be used to calculate this delta P in the multi-phase flow is called a Lockhart-Martinelli. So this is like a preliminary or simplified equation that developed during the initial study of this multi-phase flow. But of course, later it is being updated, and then a lot of other more complex methodology has been developed to give a better accuracy. Okay, but for undergrad students, because of the simplicity of this calculation, what we ask you to understand is only the Lockhart-Martinelli to understand about the concept, the examples of the pressure drop calculation for multi-phase flow. Okay. Okay, so please look at this first bullet point. Okay, the energy loss or the pressure drop for a multi-phase flow is stated as a pressure drop as a straight pipe for 100 feet long. Okay, so Lockhart and Martinelli proposed that we know that the gas liquid pipeline could be quite complex. Okay, so Lockhart Martinelli proposed that we should calculate the pressure drop for every 100 feet. Okay, so that the accuracy can be justified. So they proposed that, okay, calculate the first delta P 100 feet, okay, for the first segment of the pipeline, and then when the pipeline has to be longer, then the next segment will be calculated as the next 100 feet pressure drop, and so on and so on. Okay, why? Because again the physical properties inside of this segment could already be varied. So it was proposed to calculate for every 100 feet. Okay, and to simplify the calculation, Lockhart-Martinelli proposed to start the calculation by assuming all of the gas are found in a gas phase. Okay, so again, even though we know that it's a two-phase flow, okay, let's say even though it's we have a separate vapor with a separate velocity, with a separate superficial velocity, and then liquid at the bottom. Okay, but this becomes too complex if we already treat the segment as a two-phase flow. So Lockhart-Martinelli propose, what if for each segment we assume that there will be only one vapor filling all the parts of the pipeline. Okay, so now because we already know, we already understand the pressure drop correlation if it's a pure vapor. Okay, based on the fanning correlation, based on the Moody correlation that is taught by Pak Wawan. Okay, what if we can apply that in this kind of mixed flow pipeline? So this part still will be calculated using the what we know as a, well, you have the option. You want to calculate using fanning, that's okay, or you can calculate using a Moody correlation using the F factor. That's also okay. That can be done. So I think I've already shown you also the techniques to use a HYSYS to calculate pressure drop using in a pure or one phase pipeline. Okay, so if we assume that the delta P can be assumed as a gas, then calculate what's the pressure drop for a gas pipeline. But then this is the new correction factor that is introduced by Lockhart-Martinelli. Okay, so this part Lockhart-Martinelli doesn't contribute anything new, still use the same existing previous formula, but Lockhart-Martinelli proposed the correction factor. Okay, proposed correction factor. That's the Lockhart-Martinelli correction factor. On top of the typical gas pressure drop, it will be multiplied by the Lockhart-Martinelli coefficient. Okay, and the coefficient factor is likely to be bigger than 1. Okay, it's likely to be bigger than 1. Why? Because based on the observation, based on the experiment, it was found that 2 mixed phase flow has a bigger pressure drop than pure gas flow. Okay, so now the question is, how can we calculate this Lockhart-Martinelli correction factor? Okay, the phi square. Okay, the phi square over here. So that's the main question. So again, the delta P 100 for gas, that's just a typical standard pressure drop calculation for a straight pipe for 100 feet long. Assuming that if the chemicals or if the stream flowing inside is only gas. So if you have previously, as an example, 1 ton per hour of mixed gas, okay, 1 ton per hour of mixed gas. And then let's say that the vapor fraction as 50%, okay, just for simplicity, let's say the vapor fraction is 50%, so that's 0.5. So that means only 0.5 ton per hour actually exists in vapor and the other 0.5 exists in liquid forms. So Lockhart-Martinelli said that, okay, let's just assume that it's still 1 ton per hour of flow rate, but assume that the vapor fraction in the pipeline is 1. Okay, assuming that all can be found in a vapor condition. Okay. By that assumption, now we can use the typical fanning or Moody correlation to calculate the delta P in the pipeline. But then later, at the last step of the calculation, don't forget to add this modulus of two-phase flow, the phi square. Okay. So in terms of the pressure drop, there are some options to calculate this kind of straight pipeline correlation. Initially, Lockhart-Martinelli tried to start from a Darcy equation, okay, but this is actually a same concept with the fanning and Moody correlation that I explained to you, the friction factor, so which have been practiced for you for the last couple of weeks, okay. So it's still a concept of friction factor, okay. So that's the same friction factor, okay. And then you have the diameter, but then the difference here is that for a fanning or a Moody, usually it's expressed as a square of the linear velocity in meter per second, okay, in meter per second. But now Darcy proposed to calculate in kilogram per second, okay. So W is a mass flow rate, so that's a kilogram per second. So it's just a matter of conversion from meter per second to becomes a kilogram per second, okay. That means, of course, it will be converted using the area of the pipeline and the density of the pipeline. So that's why now you have a row over here to convert from the meter per second, and then multiply by the d square, it becomes the cubic meter per second, the debit, and then from the cubic meter per second, it's divided by the row. Now it becomes the kilogram per second proposed by Darcy. Okay, but it's actually the same concept about the pressure drop for 100 feet of long straight pipeline. And in terms of the L over here, it's already assumed as 100 feet because that's what's proposed by Lockhart-Martinelli. Okay, for a straight pipeline for every 100 feet, so the length is assumed to be 100 feet. Okay. So in terms of the F, again, you can calculate from Moody diagram or for Fanning diagram. So of course you have to start from the Reynolds number, and then remember that you have a function of Reynolds versus friction factor. Okay, that's the laminar part usually, and then you have plenty of other axes for turbulent depending on the roughness of the pipeline. Okay, it's still the same concept. It's just simplified or to be used as an empiric equation for Lockhart-Martinelli because they perform the experiment. They derive this empirical equation only for one specific type of typical steel used in a pipeline. Okay, but the idea is still you found the F, the friction factor, and then it can be substituted into the calculation of the straight pipeline pressure drop. Okay. And then this is the new part of the two-phase flow, how to calculate the modulus of two-phase flow. Okay, so it's actually has to be calculated from another modulus or from another coefficient, which is called as a Lockhart-Martinelli modulus. Okay, so in order to calculate the two-phase flow coefficient factor, it's actually a function of a Lockhart-Martinelli correction factor. Okay, so it's a function of x. Okay, capital X, which is the symbol for Lockhart-Martinelli modulus. Okay, and this is the correlation that the, okay, sorry for the, okay, maybe I'll just move the two phase modulus over here, and then so dismiss this part. Okay, it's a bit confusing. So that's the correlation between the two phase modulus with the Lockhart-Martinelli. Okay, so the final one that will be used to correct the pressure drop is the left side equation, okay, the two-phase flow modulus. And the key part here is we need to know three variables. We need to know the A, okay. A is another variable, which is a function of mass flow of gas and cross-sectional area of a pipe, okay. So it's the mass flow of the gas. So the kilogram per second of the pipeline. Okay, I'll have the chart in the next two slides, I think. So the idea is A can be derived once you know the mass flow rate of the gas, and then B is another constant specific for a different pipeline. Okay, so the important part is you need first to calculate X, the Lockhart-Martinelli modulus, coming from the ratio of the liquid versus the vapor inside of the pipeline. So remember, the assumption that it's a pure vapor is only the initial point. It's only the starting point. Then in the Lockhart-Martinelli, this is where we accommodate the proportion of the gas and the liquid. Okay, so see over here, according to Lockhart-Martinelli, X square is a ratio if we assume that the pipeline is as a pure gas and assume as a pure liquid. Okay, remember my initial illustration. Okay, we know that it's a combination of vapor and liquid. Okay, it's a combination of vapor and liquid. inside of this two-phase flow, we actually already calculate the delta P100 for the gas as a starting point for the pressure drop. Okay, but Lockhart Martinelli also proposed that actually it's also a good idea for you to calculate what if the pipe assumed to be completely filled by liquid, which represents the bottom part of this system. Okay, so now for the delta P for 100, of course you assume that the vapor fraction for the second reference point to be 0. Okay, it is the reference point. Okay, so the ratio of the delta P of a liquid divided by the gas, that would be the number of the modulus Lockhart-Martinelli square or x square. Okay, again for the pure liquid and the pure gas, you can use the Darcy equation, or you can use the fanning factor, you can use the Moody factor. Okay, assuming all of them are liquid or assuming all of them are gas. Okay, so or Lockhart-Martinelli. So let me exit or exit the full screen first to make it easier for you to understand the next slide. Okay. Okay, and the last one is this one. Okay, so based on Lockhart-Martinelli proposal, x square can be calculated as delta P liquid per delta P gas. Okay, so now imagine that becomes the big x square, right? That's the x square, and then you calculate the separate pressure drop for a liquid. So the top one is the liquid, okay, and then the bottom one is the gas. Okay, and remember that we are talking using the same size of a pipeline, same characteristic of a pipeline. Okay, so that's the gas. So a lot of this empirical coefficient factor can actually cancel out each others. Okay, so imagine this x square of delta P liquid per delta P gas now becomes this correlation. Okay, that's the delta P100 only for the liquid, that's the delta P100 only for the gas. Okay, applying the same Darcy formula or the same Fanning or Moody formula, now actually we can simplify this correlation. Why? Because that cancels out. Okay, and then we are left out with the correlation between and also the diameter. Okay, because we are talking about the same, exactly the same pipe segment. Okay, exactly the same pipe segment with the same diameter. Okay, with the same diameter. So using this simplification, now the diameter can be cancelled out, and then the correction factor can be cancelled out. So it's just a ratio. Okay, see over here, we only left with 3 variables. Okay, we only left with 3 variables: x square. See, the nominator is the liquid and the gas is the denominator for the x square. So in terms of the F ratio, okay, in terms of the F ratio, that will be F liquid per F vapor. Okay, and then see the other parts. Okay, we have the mass flow rate square of the liquid divided by the mass flow rate square of the gas. Again, the position is still in the denominator. That means when we put the ratio, it's still the mass rate of the liquid divided the mass rate of the vapor. The only different part is the density, because the density is found in the denominator of the Darcy equation for the pressure drop. Okay, So that once we try to combine it into the overall Lockhart-Martinelli equation, it becomes the density of the vapor divided by the density of the liquid, not the other way around. Okay? So it was proposed from assuming that the pipeline only filled by liquid and vapor, but you don't actually have to finish the pressure drop calculation. Okay, you only have to finish the pressure drop calculation for the gas, because again this is the starting point of the Lockhart-Martinelli equation. Remember, at last we will multiply by the x square. By the phi square. Okay, but you don't actually have to finish for the delta P liquid calculation. It doesn't have to be up until the delta P 100 calculation, what is the bar pressure drop in those segments, because actually using the simplification, now we can calculate the x square based on this ratio, the ratio of the mass rate of the liquid per mass rate of the vapor square, multiplied by the density of the vapor divided by the density of the liquid divided by the F pure liquid per F for pure vapor. Okay, I'll stop the explanation first here. Any question? Which part is confusing or has to be re-explained? Okay, so hopefully it can be understood. Okay, so it's just a measurement of the density of the vapor phase inside of the pipeline and the density of the liquid inside of the pipeline. For the density, okay, and for the mass rate, it's based on the measurement. Okay, and if you remember the HYSYS demonstration that I showed you last week, we actually will separate the pure liquid and the pure gas, so that we know the kilogram per second for the liquid only and the vapor only. Okay. Once we know about the x square from this ratio, okay, now it becomes the last step of the calculation. So we already know what is the x square. Now the last step is to link how to get the phi square from the x square. Okay, because once we know the phi square, now we can calculate the delta P for the two phases only by multiplying with the delta P 100 for the gas phase. Okay. Okay, this is the same thing. I will not re-explain. Okay, it's just another way, but I will not complicate the explanation. So the x square can be calculated using this ratio, which is the same with the previous slide. Okay. So if you want to substitute to the f, okay, here probably the important part is the f is coming from the Moody or the fanning factor chart, and it can be substituted with the Reynolds factor, okay, because f is a function of Reynolds factor, so it's just another way of the x square calculation. Okay, if you don't want to calculate the f square, the f from the fanning factor, then the option is to use the ratio of Reynolds that is found in this slide 40. Okay, and once we know the Reynolds, then Reynolds is actually a function of viscosity and density as well, so that later it can be simplified using the below equation. But again, it's just an option. You can use the top one, you can use the middle one, you can use the bottom one, or even you can use the starting point, the initial starting point of the x square correlation. Okay, it should give you more or less the same results. Once you know the x square, see, okay, this is the last part of the calculation. See the relationship that is shown in the in the equation as well as in the graph, okay, as well as in the graph. So this is to link. Previously we already know the x square, okay. See, previously we already know the x square. So from this you just have to make a square root, okay, calculate the square root so that you get the square root, the x, okay. Or if you want to directly know the x, that means all of this correlation put a square root, because the correlation to get the two-phase model is actually coming from x, not the square x, okay. This is the Lockhart-Martinelli parameter, the x1, and then you just have to follow which line would the best one to represent your pipeline, okay. See which over here we can say we have 4 symbols, okay. We have 4 symbols. Which one do you want to calculate, okay. And remember that the two-phase flow based on initial Lockhart-Martinelli is calculated as a sorry, I think I made a mistake. That shouldn't be the symbol. The delta P, okay, the delta P of the delta P 100 of the two-phase, okay, for two-phase. Remember, we initially calculate from delta P of the gas, assuming that it is a gas, multiply by the phi square, okay, multiplied by the phi square. So that means it's actually more relevant for us to use this legend, okay. Why? Because as you can see over here, this is the correction factor for a two-phase if it's coming from a gas, okay. So that phi, okay, the y-axis, the phi over here, that will be actually used as a correction factor in the final Lockhart-Martinelli equation, okay. So let's imagine, okay, let's imagine previously the Lockhart-Martinelli square, previously it's calculated as a delta P for liquid divided by delta P for vapor, right? Delta P liquid divided by delta P vapor. So when you have a very dominant liquid inside of your pipeline, where would it locates in this graph? Will it be at the left extreme part of the equation, or will it be at the right extreme parts of the equations? If you have almost like a pure liquid dominance flow.
Right side, sir.
It's what you have, most of them are liquid, okay. That means the bigger part will be in the delta P in the liquid will be big, will be a large number, okay. And you have relatively small amount of delta P in the vapor part, okay. And that will give you a large Martinelli parameter X, because liquid will dominate, okay. And in that case, the X will be at the extreme right part of the correlation, okay. And see what's the correlation number, okay. If we're really talking about the liquid is 100 times more dominant, or the X is about 100 after you put into this correlation, okay. Okay, also don't forget to square root, as I said to you, because the ratio of delta P is still in square X. but in this chart you use the x, okay, the Martinelli parameter. So if we're working towards very high Martinelli parameter, see what's the correction factor over here. Okay, see what's the two-phase correction factor over here. It's roughly becomes 100. Okay, and what's the consequence to this two-phase pressure drop correlation? Okay, imagine what's the consequence of this overall two-phase pressure drop correlation. Now it actually would be 10,000 times higher than what would be a pressure drop for a pure gas. Okay, so that how extremes the pressure drop could be for a two-phase flow. Okay, because okay, let me change the color. Okay, let's say in the most extreme part you get the x as 100. Okay, then you plot into this line. Okay, this is my intersection. Okay, this is my intersection. So now I get that my modulus phi modulus is 100. And then here you have to substitute into a square of 100. Okay, it becomes 10,000. Okay, 100 square, that becomes 10,000. So the pressure drop in the same segment now increased by fourfold. Okay, for order of magnitude, or 10,000 times. Okay, in the most extreme slugging case, probably this is what you can found. That's why it's really important to be avoided. And even in a very mild operation where the x is actually around 0.01, okay, x is equal to 0.01, that means the delta P liquid per delta P vapor would be in the order of 0.0001. Okay, that becomes the x square. So when it's converted into x, it becomes 0.01. It will still give you a pressure drop correlation. That one, let's say that's probably at least 2. Okay, let's just assume that's to be 2. Okay, and then once we multiply, and then don't forget to give a quadrat or square number of the modulus number. Okay, now at least the pressure drop would be 4 times what would be the normal pressure drop for a gas pipeline. Okay, so the order will be up until 10,000 times of a typical pressure drop. Okay, but let's say previously I said that the vapor fraction is 50%. So the pipeline is roughly filled by 50% of the vapor over here, and then filled 50% by the liquid, and that assuming that the pressure drop for the pure liquid and the pure vapor is roughly equal. Okay, that will give you x as equal to 1. Okay, and then once you put this into the correlation, see over here that your modulus, two-phase modulus, now will become roughly 5. And then again, don't forget to multiply or put the quadrat. Okay, now you end up with 25 times big of a pressure drop bigger than a typical gas pipeline. Okay, so that's the idea. Or if you don't want to use the chart, then the option is to use the empirical equation shown in this part. Okay, that's the phi square as a gas. That's your correlation, your x square. That's your Cx. And C will be depending on the region or the regimes of the liquid and the gas. Okay. Of course, the worst pressure drop will be happening when we're working in a turbulent regime, because of a high velocity, because the direction becomes very it's not in a clear order. Okay, so the correction factor, the C part, if you have a combination of a turbulent liquid and a turbulent gas, the correction factor becomes the highest one, the 21. Okay, so once you put that into the empirical equation that links the gas modulus with the Lockhart-Martinelli modulus, the Lockhart-Martinelli, the two-phase modulus will be the largest one, maybe in the order of 100, similar to what is shown in the left picture. Okay. So this is the last step of the Lockhart-Martinelli equation. Once you know the phi, the two-phase correction factor, then you can calculate the delta P. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Lockhart-Martinelli can be solved in short time, however, not always resulting in good accuracy in some of the flow conditions. So other equation will not be explained as part of the undergrad curriculum, such as Beck's and Brill, because it involves a more complex computations. And nowadays, evaluation is typically using a software such as Olga, Schlumberger or Olga, and then PipeSim and HYSYS. Okay. So this still part of your exam on Thursday. Okay, so please at least understand the step-by-step methodology to calculate the delta P in two-phase flow. Okay, how the correction factor will be. Okay, I think that will be a big part of the understanding, and also understand about the regime map. This is also important. To imagine how can you shift from a slug to a bubble. Okay, so that means increase your liquid flow, or how can you shift from slug to annular. Okay, that means you have to increase your gas velocity, increase your gas mass rate, and so on. Okay, so those kind of things will be very important. And I think also the important one is the regime map. Okay, what constitutes the 7 different map, and what's the characteristic of each regime. Okay. Okay, I think that's it from me. That's the end of the second module. Please prepare accordingly before the exam. Okay, and okay. See you. I think I'll supervise the exam for this international class in Thursday. Okay, it's gonna be open book, and then probably I only have around 1 or 2 weeks after the exam, and then the last part of the course will be continued by Pak Wawan. Okay, I'll finish the session. See you on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.